Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 3 o'clock Wonderful World of Words. I'm Valerie Baugh-Schlossberg, the Story Tapestries program manager. And the tail you see behind me is my office mate, Frosty. I'm going to show everybody Frosty. He doesn't really like the camera too much. Yeah, he's not a fan. But he's my coworker often while we are here in our home space trying to keep everyone safe and healthy and flatten that curve. So anyway, I want to welcome everyone, and I also want to introduce to you another friend of mine. This here is Mr. Frog. And for many of you who might know the stories of Frog and Toad, this is Frog from Frog and Toad. And he's been gifted to me. He used to be my mother's, and my mother was a children's librarian for over 30 years. And so she had this around when she was telling stories. So anyway, I just wanted you to welcome Mr. Frog. He will be sitting here right next to me. And today I thought I would tell the story, one of my favorites that my mom shared with me, the story of stone soup. And I know many of us know that story. So here we go. A very long time ago, there were 3 soldiers, and they had been walking and walking, and they were walking their way home to their country. And their journey was very long and very hard. And they didn't have much money or very much food with them. In fact, they had run completely out of food. But what they did have is they had a pot that they could cook their food in. Well, one day they stopped by a little village, and they knocked on the door of a villager's house, and they said, "Dear madam, we're 3 very tired soldiers who've been walking all day, and we're very hungry. Do you happen to have any food that you could share with us?" And the lady said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I don't have very much food. We just have enough for my family. I'm sorry." And she shut the door. And the soldiers went to the next house and the next house, and they were met with the very same answer. "No, I'm sorry. We don't have any extra food to share with you." Well, the soldiers decided then. They went down to the river and they filled their pot full of water, and they picked out 3 very smooth, very beautiful stones, and they placed them in the middle of that pot. And they built a fire, and so they set the pot on the fire, and it soon began to boil. Well, one of the villagers was very curious, and he peeked his head out the window, and he was looking. He didn't understand what were the soldiers doing. And so he walked over and he's like, "Did you find some food? What are you making?" And the soldier said, "We are making stone soup. It's been a recipe that was passed down by our parents, and we're making stone soup." And the villager looked in, peered in, and he saw, "Oh, well, those stones look pretty good. But maybe I could add a few onions to the soup. That might give it more flavor." So he went back to his home and he brought back 3 onions, and he chopped them all up and they put them in the stone soup. And as the onions cooked, it smelled even better, and that smell drifted off through the village. And so the next villager came in and he peered in, and he's like, that soup smells so good. What are you making?" It's like, "It's stone soup." And the villager thought, he's like, "Oh, those onions smell so good, but you know what would make it even better? If we added some carrots to it." And so she went back to her home And she gathered some carrots and she came back and she added them to the pot and they began to cook. Well, next, the little girl from 3 houses down could smell the carrots and could smell the onions, and her tummy rumbled, and she thought, she ran out, she looked in, and she's like, "Oh, wow, that looks so good. But could you maybe use some bones? We had a roast last night and we have leftover bones from that." And the soldiers were like, "Of course, we would welcome anything into this stone soup." So she rushed home and she gathered up the bones from the previous night's meal and she came back and she added them back to the soup. Now, I don't know if all of you know this or not, but if you boil bones, meat bones down, they add such a delicious flavor and they create a broth. So when we have beef broth or chicken broth, that's how you make it, is you make it with vegetables and bones. And so the trend kept carrying on and on as the smell of the soup wafted through the air. More and more villagers came, and someone brought potatoes, and another person brought some garlic, and then they added some salt and some pepper, and they stirred it all up. And as they were waiting for this soup to cook, they were talking with one another and they were sharing their stories with the soldiers, and the soldiers were sharing their stories with them. And as it was cooking, they got to know each other. Well, soon the soup was finished, and they all gathered their bowls and they dished out bowl after bowl to everyone. And they ate and ate and ate that soup until their tummies could hold no more. And everyone was satisfied. And they all had a really nice time working and connecting with each other. Well, at the end of the evening, the soldiers cleaned out the pot. And the villagers were like, "Do you have a place to stay?" And they're like, "No, not yet." "Oh, please, please come stay with us in our barn. We have plenty of warm blankets for you." And so they invited the soldiers to stay in their barn. And so that's how the stone soup became a community meal that everyone could share. Well, thank you everyone for joining me for one of my favorite stories that my mother used to share all the time when she was a librarian. And Mr. Frog hasn't heard that story in quite some time. And I'm hoping that you guys will join me again soon. And if you like what you're seeing, please think about donating to Story Tapestries. I'll put in the comments our website so that you can go and donate. Join us again here at 6 o'clock, where I believe our executive director and master storyteller, Ariana Ross, will be sharing some wonderful tale with us this evening. I want to wish everybody a happy and safe evening and the rest of your week. And everyone, stay home, wash your hands, and enjoy your next book. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.